What if Clone Trooper 5's faked his own death in the Clone Wars? That's our story for today, and a quick announcement that you guys are gonna want to listen to real quick. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and down below in the comments, comment your favorite Clone Trooper along with the word giveaway to be entered in this giveaway for the Tantive IV Lego set that comes with Clone Trooper 5s. We're going to be doing that just exclusive for this video, so subscribe to be entered in that, as well as the upcoming 70,000 subscriber lightsaber giveaway, and let's get right into it. Our story begins deep in the lower levels of Coruscant, as Clone Trooper 5's was running for his life. The last many hours of his life were full of chaos, revelations, and fear. Recently, on Kamino, 5's discovered how the inhibitor chips inside of all of the clones' heads were meant for something far worse than they were being told. And when 5's was trying to get this truth to the Jedi, Palpatine himself came and revealed his true intentions. 5's knew that Palpatine planned to use the chips to eliminate the Jedi, and only 5's knew this. He was now being hunted ruthlessly by the Republic, but he was able to reach out to Anakin and Rex to meet up with him. Though the more 5's ran, the more he doubted his plan could actually work. No one was listening to him. He knew how loyal Anakin was to the Chancellor. 5's began to panic all over again, and as he ran, he collided with someone selling death sticks, and 5's had an idea. He punched the drug dealer hard enough to knock him out, and took every death stick he could from his supply. 5's then ran into a nearby warehouse, taking every single death stick. From his time on Coruscant, he knew that taking enough of these would take someone as close to death as possible. Heart rate would slow to be nearly unnoticeable. Heck, it could kill him, but 5's had to take this risk. And 5's would take off his chest plate, firing a blaster shot back into it. And as 5's put the plate back on, he completely fainted and was as close to death as one could be. Moments later, Anakin and Rex entered to see 5's. There was a blaster wound through his chest, and Rex checked his pulse. He seemed to be dead, Rex thought. It seemed as if he took his own life due to all of the stress. Rex took a moment to mourn his fallen brother, then picked him up, and he walked out past Anakin and the Coruscant guard, taking 5's to the medical bay himself. It was ruled that 5's was insane to the point of shooting himself, and the case would be closed. Inside of the medical bay, fallen clones were taken here so their organs could be donated to wounded clones. 5's body was thousands away from this process, and as he woke up, around a day after the whole ordeal, his mind was still not exactly in its best state. The death sticks really did their job. But 5's remembered enough to stumble off of the row of bodies and find a nearby computer, recording a blood sample of himself to prove how he was drugged by Nala Se. The sample showed a lot of death sticks, but remnants of the Kaminoan drug were here as well. And from here, 5's took around a day to just get sober and then hide before taking off to begin his new life. In the clone barracks on Coruscant, Captain Rex was on a cot among the rest of his men. He could hear all of them sleeping, sounds which he was now very familiar with, but he himself could not fall asleep. The past couple nights, all Rex could think about was 5's. There was clearly something wrong with him, but Rex just couldn't shake the feeling that there was much more to the story. Could the inhibitor chips truly have a purpose that no one except 5's found out about? Hours would go by with no sleep until something strange happened. A tiny blue laser blinked right next to Rex's bed, and he saw the laser blink 5 times. Rex sat up, convinced he had to be going crazy. He had to just be tired. But then it happened again, a blue laser flashing 5 times. Rex saw where it was coming from, and he quietly would get up, sneaking to the door where it came from. Rex stepped out, and he saw 5's, alive. Without thinking, Rex ran and hugged him, then asked what was going on. He saw 5's dead. No, he felt 5's dead. He didn't have a pulse. And 5's pulled out the records of his blood sample, first showing nearly lethal amount of death sticks, and then showing Rex he was telling the truth. He was injected with a sort of psychosis drug that came from Kamino. 5's had information that the Kaminoans did not want getting out. Rex asked what information could possibly warrant the Kaminoans and Palpatine wanting him dead so badly. And so 5's told Rex everything he knew. Palpatine is the one who helped create the chips, and he intends to use the chips to wipe out the Jedi and take over the Republic all by himself. Rex naturally said this made no sense. Why would Palpatine ever reveal that if it were true? And 5 said it was meant to make 5's go insane because of the psychosis drug, and it all worked. Palpatine made it look like 5's attacked him and ran, because that's exactly what happened. Rex shook his head. This was all so much to take in. but Fives had the blood records to prove it. So Rex said they should go to the Jedi, but Fives immediately said no way. If they go to the Jedi and Palpatine somehow finds out, he will execute the order, and all of their brothers will turn into mindless droids, slaughtering their Jedi leaders. Rex knew this was correct, so he asked Fives what they were supposed to do then. They seemed to be low on options. And Fives let out a small laugh, almost like he didn't believe he was about to say this. And he told Rex, they have to kill the Chancellor. Rex genuinely had a hard time processing what he just heard, telling Fives through a sort of whisper yell that this was treason of the highest level. They'll be killed on the spot. And Fives raised his own voice, saying it would be treason not to do it with what they know. Clearly they were being too loud, as a clone guard shone a flashlight around for a bit. The two clones waited until the clone security left, and Rex said he needs time to think about this. He wants to talk to Anakin, Jesse, Cody, anyone, but he knew if this information got out, everyone Rex cared about could die. If they do this, it will have to be with a group not associated with the Republic. Fives agreed, then gave Rex a set of coordinates to meet him at in 24 hours. Luckily, the 501st was staying on Coruscant for 3 more days for a bit of a recovery period. Rex agreed, then went back to his sleeping area for a completely sleepless night. And after a long, tiresome, stressful 24 hours of thinking, Rex went to the new coordinates given to him by Fives. He had to sneak away again, but after a day of thinking, he knew Fives was right. They had to do their duty, serve the Republic by taking down the Chancellor. Rex remembered the first battle of Geonosis, and he never imagined he would end up doing this. As he entered an abandoned speeder garage, Rex saw Fives with someone else wearing a hood. Rex readied his pistol blasters, but the person turned around, giving a kind smile to him. It was Ahsoka. She gave Rex a hug. It was their first time together since she left the Order. Rex never even got to say goodbye. This was a good moment, and Ahsoka then said she heard Fives was wanted a while back, and now she tracked him. Fives told her everything, and she was in on helping them. She cared deeply for the Jedi, and thousands of them were completely innocent from the war. Plus, the clones were in danger from the chips as well. The 3 of them were discussing plans, and they decided the best way to get to Palpatine would be at night while he is sleeping. But they'll need a distraction to clear the clone trooper guards around the 500 Republica building that Palpatine resides in. For hours that night, Ahsoka, Rex, and Fives would go over different strategies for both infiltration into the building and clearing out necessary security. And they all knew getting in the building was one thing, but actually getting into Palpatine's room was another. Only the royal guards had access to his room. And there, they had their answer. Ahsoka said she had a great way to distract security. When Barriss was caught by Anakin, she was wielding Ventress's lightsabers, and Ahsoka knew where the Jedi kept the lightsabers of those that were fallen or captured. She could pay the Jedi a visit, sneak inside, grab the red lightsabers, and then tomorrow night, she can ignite them. Panic will quickly ensue. People don't exactly know how to react to rogue lightsabers. Guards will scramble to stop her, and a momentary opening will be given to Fives and Rex to act. So the 3 of them would depart, and the next day, Fives would hide in the underbelly of Coruscant. Rex would treat this as a normal recovery day, while preparing his men for departure tomorrow morning back into the war. And Ahsoka would pay a visit to Anakin in the temple. She would tell the Jedi she's having trouble finding her place in her new life, and just is hoping to have a peaceful meditation here. The Jedi naturally accepted this, and Ahsoka did meditate on what is going to happen tonight, while eventually sneaking into the temple history area, where the names and lightsabers of all the fallen Jedi were kept. Ventress's sabers were here from Barriss's capture, and Ahsoka managed to grab one of them without anyone noticing. The rest of the day would fly by until all 3 of Ahsoka, Fives, and Rex met back up in the same abandoned garage and went over the plan once more. Rex and Fives were able to steal normal-looking clothes that would allow them to sneak into 500 Republica building without anyone thinking it was strange, and they would all get into position. Ahsoka stood around 50 yards from the building entrance, and she ignited the red lightsaber, began throwing objects through the streets with the Force. Rex and Fives waited until a group of Coruscant Guard clones ran out of the building, and they snuck through the open door, making their way into the elevator. In the elevator, they were rising up to the security level where the royal guards were stationed. They had 50 floors to go when the elevator opened and Mas Amedda stepped in. The 2 clones quickly became worried, as Mas noticed that the 2 of them were going to the same floor as him. Moss was going to make sure that the royal guards were ready to protect Palpatine from this outside threat. And as Moss realized the two people in this elevator were going to the security floor, he reached for the emergency button, but Fives quickly shot him with a stun blast. They stopped the elevator on a floor full of maintenance and janitorial droids, dragging Moss into a closet before getting back in. Rex and Fives both shook their heads, almost laughing. This was the most insane mission of all time. They finally reached the security floor, and they would see the 8 royal guards ready to board the elevator. Rex and Fives looked back at each other, then began firing stun blasts at the guards. 4 of them fell immediately, but the other 4 ran at the 2 clones, swinging their staffs at them. Rex was quickly hit in the side, but he managed to grab one of the staffs, stabbing it through a guard before turning and shooting another. Fives narrowly dodged a stab, then another guard pulled a blaster, and Fives barely kicked it away. He choked out one of the final 2 guards, while Rex dove and firing his stun blast at the final one, and then everything went quiet. With no time to waste, Fives would put on the armor of one of the guards, and then he rose up in the elevator alone to Palpatine's room. Rex would be taking the next elevator. As the elevator door finally opened, Fives ran into Palpatine's room wearing the royal red armor, and the Chancellor was looking down to the ground where Ahsoka was still swinging her red blade, deflecting shots from clone security. She wasn't hitting any clones, of course, just causing a distraction. When Fives, wearing the red guard uniform, reached Palpatine, he did his best to hide his fear. Palpatine turned, asking where the rest of the guards were, as they slowly paced the room. Fives was lucky the helmet came with a voice modulator to hide the identities of the guards. As he told Palpatine, they went down to handle this rogue warrior in the streets. And now Palpatine stared directly at Fives, as he said he recognized the fighting style of that warrior, and he wonders what will come next. Palpatine could often see the future, not exactly what was going to happen, but he could see threads, variations, possibilities, and he was sure an attack on his life was coming. And sure enough, the elevator door opened, and in ran Captain Rex, dual blasters pointed at Palpatine. Fives ran right in front of Palpatine to protect him, and Palpatine merely smiled. He knew that without even moving a muscle, he could snap Rex's neck right now, but he was curious as to what this was all about. So he asked Rex why he would dare commit treason like this, and Rex said it's because he trusted Fives before Palpatine had him killed. And now Palpatine held a huge, scary grin. There was no glee behind his eyes, they were pure evil. He was letting his mask down, showing Rex the same thing he showed Fives. He told Rex that he would die today, just like Fives did, and it would be a meaningless death. And soon, all of his brothers will be doing his bidding without a choice. Rex said he doesn't think so. Palpatine lifted a hand to slowly choke Rex to death. But as he did this, the spear of the royal guard in the room pierced directly through Palpatine's chest and deep into his heart. Palpatine fell to his knees, coughing blood, struggling to breathe as Fives removed the helmet to show it was him. Palpatine felt anger like never before. He twisted his fingers, firing lightning directly into Fives. The clone crashed into the wall, but Rex fired his pistols right into Palpatine's head, and the Chancellor died, underestimating the clone troopers. Fives got back to his feet, giving Palpatine one final shot just because, and the two of them saw that the elevator was rising back up to them. Mos Ameda clearly woke up with the surviving Red Guards. They were coming up now. Fives and Rex looked at each other and asked what they'd do now. They didn't really plan an escape plan. Rex said they'd jump. Fives looked at Rex like he was absolutely insane, and Rex sprinted at the window, yelling at Fives to just trust him. And Rex shot out the window, jumping out with Fives right behind him, both of them regretting not putting together an escape plan. Both of them never really even thought they'd get this far. And now the two of them were falling through the sky over 1,000 stories to the ground below. As they fell, Fives frantically asked Rex what they'd do now, and Rex said to trust in the Force. And so, Fives closed his eyes, accepting that this is where he was going to die. And nearby, among the influx of speeders, Jedi Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi were dispatched to handle this red-bladed warrior outside of 500 Republica. The warrior was long gone by now, but as Anakin was scanning the skies for any sign of them, he saw something else. 2 beings jumped from the Chancellor's suite and were now falling to the ground. Obi-Wan yelled out in surprise as Anakin put the speeder at full speed and was descending through the air, chasing after these 2 beings. One of them wearing red armor, the other wearing normal clothes. But as Anakin got the speeder closer, he noticed they were both clones. With under 100 stories until hitting the ground, Anakin was able to pull his speeder under the clones, and they both landed on the back of it. Anakin quickly recognized them, and of course asked what was going on. He couldn't believe Fives was alive. And Rex said they might want to go to the Jedi Temple. They just killed Chancellor Palpatine. Anakin naturally was stunned, but Obi-Wan told Anakin to go. They have to hear the rest of this story before they do anything else. So they would fly to the temple, and Obi-Wan would call an urgent Jedi Council meeting, as the leader of the Republic has been assassinated. As the sun rose on Coruscant, the council gathered to meet with Anakin, Obi-Wan, Fives, and Rex. Chaos was budding in throughout Coruscant as the news of Palpatine's assassination was taking place. It was rumored that the clone troopers did it, but no one knew which ones, except for the Jedi. As the council asked Rex and Five to explain themselves, Fives went first, telling them everything that Palpatine told him. The Jedi said it is extremely concerning, but it isn't enough proof for anything. But then, Rex pulled out a recording device from his belt. He recorded his entire interaction with Palpatine before they killed him. And in this recording, Palpatine admitted to using the clones to destroy the Jedi. Mundi asked the clones why they didn't come to the Jedi before doing this, and the clones explained that they couldn't risk Palpatine finding out about their plan and executing the order. This had to be done quietly and carefully. The Jedi all agreed this could have been done differently, but the more they discussed, the more they realized this may have been the best option. Palpatine was in control of the Senate and the courts. The Jedi were very suspicious of him possibly being in relations with the Sith, and so they would hide Rex and Fives deep in the temple. Then they would send investigation crews to Palpatine's office and his home. When the investigations were complete, the Jedi would discover ancient Sith artifacts, and in his office of the executive building, they found 2 red lightsabers hidden away in statues. Along with the lightsabers, the Jedi found codes to a secret entrance to a tunnel system under Coruscant that would lead them to a Sith lair in the industrial sector. And all of these discoveries, along with Rex's recording, would be shown to the Senate to prove that Palpatine was working against the Jedi and the Republic from the start. Rex and Fives would be accepted back into the Grand Army, and these revelations would send shockwaves around the galaxy, but most notably to those leading the Separatist Alliance. Leaders like Gunray and Tambor would learn that their leader, Darth Sidious, was also the Chancellor that's been holding them back for years. They became disillusioned with Dooku, and the members of the corporate alliance like Gunray, Tambor, Poggle, Sandhill, and others were unsure of who to trust. Those in the Separatist Senate, who were in favor of ending the war and bringing forth peace negotiations, would push Dooku to go for peace, but Dooku was completely against this idea. Now that Palpatine was dead, Dooku felt his only option was to overwhelm the Republic with battle droids and destroy the Republic, then rebuild it from the ground up. But as days passed, more and more Separatist planets would separate from Dooku, and there would become 3 major groups. Dooku and Grievous fighting for galactic supremacy, the Republic fighting to bring the Separatist planets back into the Republic, and the disillusioned Separatist planets that wanted peace negotiations, not war. So over the next few weeks, as Dooku and Grievous increased their assault on the Republic and began winning many more battles, the clone armies would be reinforced by civilian armies from all sorts of Separatist planets fighting for peace. Dooku and the droids were holding the galaxy back, and the emergence of these civilian armies would push Dooku and Grievous back until they had but one choice: take Coruscant. And so, a fleet larger than any seen before during the war would launch for Coruscant, but the Republic was ready. They knew this move was coming eventually, and the 2 fleets would fight in the most gruesome battle seen in centuries. While Dooku commanded the fleet from space, Grievous and tens of thousands of droids would descend down to the surface and begin trying to take the planet from the ground. Only around 2,000 Jedi on the planet were actually capable fighters, and they were all deployed either into the temple, to the streets, to the Senate, or to space. Anakin Skywalker, Plo Koon, and Saesee Tiin would lead the space assault. Yoda, Windu, and Kit Fisto would lead the forces in the streets. Shakti, Depa Billaba, and Agen Kolar were leading the Senate security, and the temple was protected by the Temple Guards and the Elder Jedi, like Appo Ran Cease. Thousands of clones battled thousands of droids in the air and on the ground, and eventually General Grievous and his guards would be marching towards the temple when Windu and Fisto intercepted his assault, fighting Grievous, taking down the droid general just in time. Grievous's destruction would soon be met by the Separatist flagship with Dooku in command, being targeted by Skywalker, Plo, and Saesee together. they would ensure the shields were destroyed, and together they were able to take down the engines through thousands of Vulture droids trying to get rid of them. And Dooku would go down with the flagship as it descended down to Coruscant, crashing, exploding into the industrial sector. The war would last only a few more hours, and repairs, along with finding casualties or survivors, would take weeks if not years. But in the end, Coruscant stood. The Republic was finally able to truly find peace negotiations, led by Padme Amidala. The story of Rex and Fives would go on for generations, with them being seen as the catalysts for the galaxy being saved from a tyrannical dictator had everything gone the way Palpatine wanted. The Jedi would live on and begin trying to change as Yoda stepped down as Grand Master and Plo Koon would step in, while Mace Windu remained in his role as Master of the Order. Around a year after the war, Anakin was made a Jedi Master, and almost immediately they found out about Padme. This was not ideal, but the Jedi were bending their rules a bit at this time, and Anakin was allowed to stay in the Order, as eventually him and Padme would have children. And folks, that is our story for today. I hope you enjoyed. Just as a quick reminder, comment below your favorite clone trooper along with the word giveaway to be entered in the giveaway for the Tantive IV set that comes with Clone Trooper 5's minifigure. That'd be great if you want to just comment that. Of course, you have to be subscribed, so hit that button as well. Yeah, winner will probably be announced in a few days. I'm thinking Thursday or Friday. Either way, let's talk about today's video. I really wanted to make this kind of a little bit not so serious, like kind of like a Clone Wars episode with some interesting, funny parts. I don't know about funny, but like, you know, some not so serious parts. That includes the two clones jumping out of the building and just kind of praying that some help comes their way, riding the elevator up and having to fight Masameda and then the Red Guards. I don't know, I enjoyed kind of putting some more, I wouldn't say humor, but just personality into it a little bit. So hope you guys enjoyed this story. I know, you know, maybe it's not the most realistic for them to actually kill Palpatine, but I thought, hey, if they're disguised and Palpatine's being super arrogant about it, they've got a chance, with Five disguised, plunging the staff into Palpatine's heart, as he's more so distracted by Rex. So let me know what you thought of all of that. Ahsoka being the one to help them out. I thought of some other people that could have come in to help them, maybe Barriss or Cut from Saleucami, but either way, let me know what you thought. Thanks for watching this. Once again, giveaway details will be in the pinned comment, and I'll see you in the next video.